Welcome to Unhidden Podcast, the very, very first episode of Unhidden Podcast. I am one of the co-hosts, Drew, and I am joined by Lorena.
Hi, Drew. I think we finally make this happen. I know everything started from a very casual conversation on LinkedIn, where great conversations have to happen anyways. Welcome to the first episode. I'm guessing, what are your expectations? Why are we even here? Tell me.
Yeah, so it's interesting because, when you and I first met, I had been kicking around the idea of starting a podcast to talk about my experience with my late diagnosis. I was diagnosed last year, and we're not going to get into too much of the details on that because we got a whole episode coming up to talk about that. But I was diagnosed last year at the age of 45, and I'd been kicking around the idea of starting a podcast to talk about my experience and my diagnosis and maybe, helping some folks along the way. And you and I met and I told you, hey, I've been kicking around this idea. And you're like, oh, let's do it. Let's do it. So for me, I think that, why I originally had the idea of starting this podcast is because I thought that a couple things, really. I thought that, number one, as somebody that was diagnosed late in life, who's really had to navigate this world without any assistance, with no help, without any understanding of what's going on in my own brain and why it's going on in there, I thought maybe there might be at least one or two things I could share that would help others potentially. And the other reason is because I have not met a lot of other folks that are diagnosed late in life. And I think that one of the things that is missing for me, at least in my world and in my diagnosis, is any kind of a community. Because everybody I meet that's been diagnosed was diagnosed a long time ago, and they've had help and support their entire lives. And so we're still a little different there, And so just a little bit of a community and helping each other. That's kind of where it comes from for me. So, Lorena, what is it when I said podcast, obviously you lit up, and what made you, what made that got that reaction out of you?
I guess, Drew, it was kind of one of those things that it was the right time and the right moment, because if you would have asked me this 10 years ago, probably I wouldn't have been your person, right? Because I feel what I'm going to bring to the table is breaking stigmas around what is a functional autistic adult. And so just as you, my diagnosis came very close to COVID. We're going to jump into it on how it happened and everything, but I always perceived myself as almost like an outsider in my family. My upbringing comes from a very, very social family. And just in general, I think I always felt like kind of the weirdo. And it had its good aspects, of course. And I think I have almost capitalized on them. Through my own diagnosis, I think I won a lot of understanding and a lot of kindness to myself. And now, years later, I understand that I am a master in masking. And so when you and I started talking, I already had this almost as almost another master in podcasting, because I've been doing podcasts just given the thing that I do for a living. And so I think that allowed me to say, you know what? Absolutely, yes, because now this touches personal fibers. And I think, just as you, I never met someone like me until you, where we figure out our ways in life. And I think what I am hoping to bring here is, number one, education, because I think the world is still not where it should be for neurodiverse folks, and hopefully this is not only going to be about autism, right? At some point we're going to open it a little more. precisely because of what you were saying, the lack of community for people like us it's a big gap. And so I think I'm trying to close it. And then on that's one for me. And then the second is the hope also is to bring more educated people than both of us. I think we're going to be coming to this from this is my experience, but also I think autism is one of those conditions that is not very well defined or known, because as everything that is on the spectrum, it has many faces, it has many lenses. And so the hope is also to bring a lot more experts in the field to talk to us about what has changed, what's new, what's not that new, what are the good things, what are the bad things. So ultimately, I think you hit it right in the head, educational, and then make people feel that you are not the only one, and that's not a bad thing. So I think those two things for me relate.
Yeah, and one of the things that you mentioned that I think is really important is that there aren't a lot of folks that are like us, and I think a lot of that is because so many folks like you and I have been so good at masking that it's so difficult to see who the real person is because of all the masking that's had to happen. And I think that the reason I'm bringing this up is because you're the one, Lorena, that came up with the name Unhidden for the podcast. Tell me how the name Unhidden came to you and what it means to you in relation to the podcast.
It's going to sound a little cliche, but I don't have many places where I can show up as myself. One, because of the career that I chosen. There's already expectations happening there because it's marketing, it's very social. It's like you need to be up there. And then second, a multinational organization where you need to be visible. And a lot of the times, I just don't feel comfortable with that, right? And I don't think I found my way to fully be myself in the majority of situations in my life, other than thank God for my wife. I think she gets the rawest that it can get, she gets it. And so I think when you and I started to talk, I saw this as that opportunity, as another workplace where I can stop hiding, or I can stop putting the face that everyone expects, or you couldn't tell, because I think I've been living with in Spanish is no se te nota, right? Like, and in English it means you couldn't tell. Like when I came here, it was like, you couldn't tell you're Mexican. I couldn't tell you are part of the LGBT community. I couldn't tell that you're autistic. So I feel like all of these tags have been following me through my life. And we'll discover if they've also brought really good things as well. But I think Unhidden is precisely that. Like, I want a place where if I suddenly go silence, people know that it's just because this podcast is being run and co-hosted by two autistic people, right? So I think that's where the inspiration came, and hopefully you feel the same.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's why it really resonated with me. And when I saw Unhidden, I was like, I like that. Good idea, Lorena. Because I have been, I have been hidden for most of my life in this world of people not really knowing the real me. Mostly because I didn't know the real me. Like, I didn't know that I was diagnosed with this, right? I knew that weird stuff was going on in here, but I didn't know why, and I didn't have that background. So a place that I could just be my true, authentic self, because like you, I mean, in my career, I don't have the ability to just be my true, authentic self. I mean, I'm a small business owner. You can't. You've got to put on a lot of masks when you're a small business owner, particularly a small business owner that's on the spectrum. So, that's one of the things I loved about when I saw the name Unhidden. It just it definitely it hit me in the feels. And honestly, the other thing that prevented me from starting the podcast by myself is, number one, it's just one person. Like, nobody, who cares what this one person has to say, right? And to me, I was grateful, really grateful that you said, let's do it, because, I've been wanting to do this, but I didn't want to do it just myself. Because again, I think one person, who cares? But also at the same time, like, you can throw a rock and hit a podcast that's hosted by a white guy, a straight white guy.
Yeah.
There's a million of them. Yeah. And so I personally do very much care about diversity and diverse opinions and experiences. And I definitely didn't want to just be another podcast where it's just, one or two white guys talking about their experiences that congratulations, like that's your experience.
Well, I take that as a compliment, right? Like I think I am, in your own words, a very diverse human for some of the reasons that I already mentioned, but for so many more as well. And so I think we're as I said it, in the right time, in the right moment. So hopefully people like it. And if you don't like it and you have feedback, that's also very welcome. So yeah.
Yeah, it definitely was a compliment. I know that sometimes we struggle with how things are going to come off, right? So I apologize if that wasn't structured properly, but it was a compliment. I really do value other opinions and experiences, and so I wanted somebody that had, it's not that I wanted to meet somebody that had different experiences. It was the fact that somebody that had different experiences and had a different perspective on life generally because of that, the fact that person said, let's do it, it was a perfect fit. Mm-hmm. I hope that's a better explanation.
I think you nailed it. And see, we had our first random moment. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of this where we struggle to explain something and then we just go a little deeper into it, which I personally love. So welcome to Unhidden.
I think that's like a perfect moment for this podcast. With that, is there anything else you want to say before we do our little closing here and let people get on to the next episode?
I think the recommendation is hit the subscribe, click the like, because I think we live in a world of algorithms, right? And so we're putting some time and a lot of effort here. So it's really, really appreciated. If you like it, just show it. That's the only ask.
Agreed. I agree. So on our next episode, so episode 2 will be a deep dive into Lorena's journey to her diagnosis, what it meant for her, what her life was like before, and how it's changed her life, and just generally how she's navigated her diagnosis and what's happened after that. So if you want to hear real story about somebody that's probably going to sound familiar to you, that's our next episode with Unhidden, is Lorena's journey.
Thank you for that, and stay tuned.
All right. Thanks, everybody.